Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That is right, it's Your Impact Attack. And quite frankly, you can have it. Good night, everyone. You can follow me at Opinion Haver on all social media platforms. Just kidding. We've got a wonderful show for you as always. It's the VBC together again on a Monday night. Who's the V? I'm the V. Hello. Jamie Williams, called the vet, tag team partner, tagging in through the magic of the internet tag. It's hot. Whew, it's hot. Brandon is here. He's the B. What's up, Brandon?
Not much, man. And looking at the chat room tonight, we got Lisbeth, we got Labrat, and we got the OGC of the VBC, Colin Wysong. How's everybody doing tonight? Whoop, whoop.
That's right. And let's not forget another C, Chris Winland. He's going to start us off with a question here. And he says, yes, boy. Today's question is, everyone points out the lack of crowd for AEW, yet NXT, Impact, MLW, and NWA are quite smaller. Can you speak to if size does matter or not as guys who has performed? LOL. Does size matter?
I mean, yes, obviously it does. You want to have as big of a crowd as possible. But here's the difference between AEW and all those other companies. Tony Khan and AEW as a whole are the ones going around talking about how great they are, how awesome their business is. And then you look at the crowds and it's like, and then, the other ones are not, going around saying like, oh, we hit this record breaking number. We hit this number. We hit this, that. Whereas Tony Khan keeps talking about, oh, we had, the biggest, selling wrestling event in world history, which again, credit to them, they did. But that was one night. Everything else, it's like.
Well, I mean, on that note, I guess you would say, can any of these companies even have one night? And the answer is no, they can't. I mean, was it not Billy Corgan that said we're in position to be the number 2 wrestling promotion, as everyone's just like, wait, you're on an app? I don't know, I don't really know, but the point is, I understand what AEW is doing. All right, Liz says the others play to the size of their crowds, not trying to overshoot their expectations. Well, yeah, but again, that's the crowds they can draw.
This, in my opinion, this is probably one of AEW's biggest problems they need to fix, is that they can't accept the reality of where they're at, what their numbers are, and be like, okay, we need to grow and build on this. They think, oh, this is great. We're doing just fine. And everybody criticizing us, saying what we need to do different, what we need to change. They're wrong. They're haters. They're irrelevant. They're parasites.
So if you, so let's say you book a smaller building. So AEW books a smaller building. Let's say they book a building that's so small that even Impact could fill it. What about all the people that aren't going to be able to get in now because the show's sold out, but you still got an extra 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people that couldn't get it because your venue's too small?
I mean, that's kind of a tough tightrope to walk. You got to find that right balance of, again, that's where it's important to have options and choices of where you can go and buildings you can run, because you want to find the ones that you can fill, that look good without leaving anybody out, but also it doesn't look like it's 2/3 empty. You got to strike that right balance.
Right. Well, this is one of those times where living in this age that we live in is a sort of it's on the curse side. The fans know too much. They care about stuff that has nothing to do with them. No one would know how big or small the venues were or no one would know how filled or unfilled the venues were if we didn't have fans that were tweeting pictures from the venue, because on TV it doesn't look like the pictures that they show, and the pictures that they show could be taken from any time. They could be taken before the show starts. They could be taken during the Ring of Honor tapings. They could be taken whenever they're taken, and no one would know if no one would know how those buildings would look. Yes.
To be fair, they in some of those pictures, I'm not going to speak for all of them, but the ones I have seen, they made sure to point out, like, hey, look who's in the ring. Look at the aprons. Look at the promotional stuff on the guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's one that was Edge, and it's like only the lower bowl was filled, and it's like, granted, I'm sure that was like a non-televised live event, but still.
Yeah. Well, anyway, regardless, the point is you wouldn't know about that because that's not meant for public consumption. But the ribs on them, because they're sitting here trying to, you know, they're trying to prove whatever point they're trying to prove, but they are at the show. So I find that kind of odd that you would try to do that. But the point is,
right, it's like you're saying, hey, look at me. I'm enjoying a show that nobody else wanted to come see.
Yep, I'm a sucker. Hello. You know, that's basically what you're saying. So joke's on you, but I mean, ultimately the question was, it's not necessarily a debate about what AEW should do for their business, because I think they're doing what they can. Part of the problem is oversaturation. Part of the problem is they run the same towns a lot. Part of the problem is people are all wrestling out. I mean, it's just not. There's too much per week. It's more wrestling than there's ever been, and it's a lot, and so people have to make choices. You know, all these things and a bunch of other things that we could do other shows about. You know, if you want to, there's plenty of people that focus on talking about that and getting their own narratives over. You could go listen to them if you want to listen to them. But for the question, I'll tell you this. Of course, it's better the more people there are, but that's dependent on the venue. As far as, like, if you have a small venue and the small venue isn't filled, that's bad. If you have a big venue, and the big venue isn't filled, if there's still a lot of people, that's enough to be a crowd. And I think that's a lot of what AEW is going through, but I've never really experienced that. I've never wrestled in a building where it had thousands and thousands of seats and, you know, only some of them were filled. It's been either very small venue or, you know, the one time I was in front of like 75,000 people or whatever. So being in front of 75,000 people, that's an unimaginable scale of people that you can't really, like, you almost can't really focus on that. So it's almost like they're there, but they're almost like they're not there. It's just a lot of loud noise. And then when you're in those small venues, you can hear like every individual person that's saying, like, you know, whatever they're saying, you can hear them say
this shit.
Yep. So, but what you really want as a performer, what you really want is to be able to captivate that crowd however you can. If you've got 3 people in the audience, you're going to want all 3 of those people to have their full attention on what you're doing. You know, a lot of the wrestlers would have the mindset that, you know, oh, well, not that many people showed up, so I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to turn it up 100%, you know, just because there's nobody there. And there's also the other side of the coin that says, well, these people did pay and they deserve what they paid for. You can't disappoint the people that support you. Now, does that mean doing every crazy thing in the world that you ever could because there's 3 people there? No, but you could still, if you're good at your job, you could still give people a good, memorable, fun show, without getting yourself killed. Right. So, you know, those are the things that that's kind of like what I'm seeing in a bigger picture, because when you look at like we were kind of talking about this on the collision, just happened to be talking about this with AEW, where taking a guy like Edge, who you brought up, and how every one of his matches has to turn into some fucking ECW 1997 stagger around and hit people with cookie sheets and garbage can lids and fucking do all kinds of shortcuts or whatever. Because why? You can't tell a story in the ring. You can't get the people captivated. You can't captivate that audience without taking those shortcuts and doing those things. um I just I don't get it. But there is like a happy medium between those things. You don't have to just sit in a headlock all night, and you also don't have to, like, set somebody on fire. There's what happened to having a good match? Like what happened to having a nice match? I don't know. But if those people are, I mean, if the people aren't into what you're doing, there's some people that are a tough crowd. Like, some crowds are just tough. But it's up to the performer to, like, figure out what that crowd wants. Figure it out. Don't just go through your pre-planned match. And I think that's what a lot more people are doing these days. But I mean, Brandon, what has your experience been like with the towns and the crowds and those kind of things? Like, going to different places and working in front of different people.
From my experience, what always worked best with me is like having kind of a structure and layout in mind, but also having the ability to know, like, okay, if this ain't working, we can adjust on the fly. Like, we can still kind of keep the original, most of the structure intact, but we can mold it and adjust it to give the crowd what they want rather than what we think they want.
Mm-hmm. And then, about working in front of different size crowds, like, do you have any stories about those? Like,
I'll never forget, there was one show where there was a blizzard and only 30 people, or warnings of a blizzard, and only 30 people showed up.
Man.
And basically the idea or mindset of the locker room was, well, these 30 people, paid their money and they came through this to come watch us. We're going to give them a show. But it wasn't like the whole, we're going to kill ourselves, but we're not mailing it in. We're going to put everything we have into what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so it's, I guess, in a way it really is, it kind of does tie. I mean, he made the innuendo about does size matter when you perform or whatever. And it really is kind of like that. If you're good enough, maybe it doesn't. The other thing is the flip side of having like a smaller crowd, even if it's, whether it's capacity or like lower than expected. It goes both ways in terms of like, the fans, you can hear every one of their individual comments, but they can also hear you, and you can make it a more personal thing with them because you could single people out of the crowd and you can get heat that way. And it's been, like that's just part of that's part of learning the craft. It's something I don't know to what degree it goes on anymore, especially if like if you go to NXT, you're going to have that group of people there every week. Now, it may be different people, but you're going to have that many people, and those people are all there. They know what they're coming to see. They know it's going to be NXT. They get the idea what NXT is. So the crowd's going to respond more or less overall the same. So I don't know that those kids are really getting a chance to really get the experience. I guess that would just depend how much indies they did before they got signed or whatever. But some of the people that are just being like brought in as a college athlete or whatever, or somebody that failed in their pro athlete endeavors and just decided to give wrestling a try, I don't know how many of those people are really going to be able to get that whole thing. They're the kind of people that probably are always going to have that match laid out and just do it from A to Z, no matter what kind of people they're in front of, because They only work in front of that one same NXT crowd. And then they're going to have a hard time learning that on the road if they learn it at all.
Yeah, it's like what Ben says with that false positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. It's a good question, and it's not an easy, simple answer. It's not just like oh yes, size matters. The end. There's always like degrees of what. What's this? Colin says. Oh well, your son's got to learn sometime, Colin. Got to learn sometime. Might as well learn from a professional and not the kids on the playground. So, well, that's a question. Thanks, Chris, for the question. Yeah. What else do we got? The news has been kind of nothing really newsworthy, really. Just a lot of stuff concerning events that have taken place this weekend.
Man, to me, the clip, like the clip of the weekend, Tony Khan rolling down the ramp at Double or Nothing while Jack Perry's getting put out with fire extinguishers.
Amazing.
Here's the thing with me in AEW. I've learned to kind of like accept that AEW as a company and the things they do, it's going to be entertaining and fun to watch.
I think most people have come to that conclusion.
I mean, like, how did we get to that point? Where we're actually like getting a flamethrower and engulfing somebody on pay-per-view, and then the company president is like rolling down the ramp as he's being put out. Like, what's going on?
They said it was anarchy in the arena. What did you want? You got anarchy. They delivered as advertised. Hey, look, there is a simple answer to what you asked. How do we get to this point? There's a very, very simple answer. It's one word, really, and it's nothing I haven't said since AEW started. Hot-shotting. We got to this place by hot-shotting.
Yeah, that was some real hot shot in there last night.
It's now literal hot-shotting. He shot hot stuff onto Jack Perry. Hot fire. Like Dylon.
Dude, that's the only way they can make any kind of sense out of that is if they open up, like, have on Dynamite where Jack Perry's pressing charges against Darby Allin for attempted murder.
I mean, he already survived a choking. This is nothing.
I fear for my life.
No, this is no, but that's what I mean. So you get to this point because you have to keep doing things that nobody in their right mind should do because you've already done things that nobody in their right mind could do, and now you have to top it.
I remember something else. Tony Khan is the same guy who said he feared for his life because CM Punk got into a scuffle with a dude about 7 feet in front of him and then started screaming at him. And then all of a sudden, this guy's supposed to be a babyface is engulfing some dude with a flamethrower. Oh yeah, safest place to work.
Well, that was during a match, so it's fine. It's fine if it's in a match. Just don't do it backstage. Right. No. I mean, we're well past hypocrisy here. We passed that. We passed that the first time. Yeah, that is miles of miles. That is states down the road. There is no. The first time they did an angle where somebody had a backstage altercation, after that was the time where they were hypocrites. There is no making sense of it. There's no defending it. There's no nothing. You just sit back and, like you said, it's just you try to be entertained by the ridiculousness of it when instead you're supposed to be entertained by the content of it, matter of fact,
Sometimes it is the content that, or the ridiculousness bleeds into the content and makes it entertaining for all the wrong reasons. Like that whole bit with Tony Khan taking that microphone shot and he back bumps a shot to the gut. Like,
I mean, what else is there to say at this point? It's just nobody cares. Everybody just does what they want. They're all desperate. Desperate men do desperate things, and they have to hot shot. And now because you've hot shotted, you have to hot shot even more, and then you have to hot shot even more until the point where you actually have a guy with a flamethrower, and now they have to top this. See? This is why people don't do this. But I mean, again, we could definitely do a whole extra show on just this. We could talk about Double or Nothing and break down every stupid thing that happens on that show.
I predict we see a cinder block being used in an AEW match before the end of 2024.
What do you mean again? They've already used cinder blocks. I know you're new to this whole AEW thing.
Wow.
Bro, that cinder blocks is old. Where have you? That's like 2 years ago. What are you talking about?
Damn, I'm sorry. That's my bad, guys. I apologize.
Yeah, cinder blocks. That's like the equivalent of a small package in AEW.
Okay, flaming cinder block.
Ooh, flaming cinder block. Yeah, we've done fire, we've done glass, we've done cinder blocks. We've done most building implements. Like we've done many things that you could construct a living, a domicile with as weapons. I mean, just the amount of things that had thumbtacks glued to them alone last night, it's got to be a Guinness record. Chris Jericho pulled out a bag of dice and dumped that all over the ring. And they had to take bumps on dice for the rest of that match. That was amazing. Just
well, wasn't it Jericho and Shibata who had the match with the hockey pucks thrown at each other?
Mm-hmm. And now you throw dice. You know, I mean, a whole concert floor. So many things. I just it is what it is. So what can you do? All you can do is hopefully you can enjoy some people in AEW that are like, I ain't doing that bullshit, and try to get along with that. Or if you just want to see what these, if you're look, there was a whole, America's Funniest Home Videos was on TV for many, many, many years. And it still exists in various forms, like whatever they call it now. But just anything where people are getting hit in the balls with stuff, for whatever reason, people have always just gravitated to that. People have always liked that. They watched Jackass. It became a thing that it could have like all these movies and series. Like, you just want to see people hurt themselves on purpose? I think AEW's numbers would be a lot higher if people knew how much of that is going on. I think people just assume it's regular wrestling, and that's why they're not watching it. If you could tell them that it's just Jackass with ropes,
yeah,
the ratings might go up, because the kind of people that like Jackass, remember Jackass, or still care about that kind of willful self-harm, they're the ones that are probably still watching cable TV, so that would definitely get their numbers up. I just think.
Dude, I think you're onto something with that, because I think when people think of, AEW, they're this other wrestling company that's on cable, they're on TNT, TBS, they made you think, second-rate WWE, no thanks.
Yeah, I don't even want to watch WWE. Why would I watch that? Well, did you know that guys were getting a set on fire and taking bumps into bags of dice?
Okay, this might be a special I might want to check out and just give it at least a look.
Yeah. So hey, that's that. I mean, you can do that. And then there was And then there was the complete opposite of that because, the WWE held their king and queen of the ring over Saudi Arabia, and it was like a very, steadfast and boring pay-per-view. Nothing particularly interesting or exciting. They just had matches, and some people won them, and that's that. So two sides of the coin.
Although I will say it was one kind of unexpected result was I think Liv Morgan getting the belt.
Yeah,
because that can mean many different things.
that's right. Such as Liv
Becky's
Morgan having a belt. and maybe Liv Morgan one day losing a belt. That's about all it means.
Yeah, but I really don't think anybody was going into that expecting Liv Morgan to go over.
Well, it happened, and I guess we'll just have to see. We're in the Liv Morgan era now.
Oops, she did it again.
Yeah. Really? Colin says I'm on point today. I don't know. I just feel like I'm floundering here trying to talk about this because I'm just so disgusted with the entire business that I briefly attached myself to for a period of time. And then I have to talk about TNA now, which doesn't really make it better. But I guess compared to this mess that happened this weekend and all the stuff leading up to it, maybe a little bit better. I don't know. Should we just get into it? I don't have anything. Do you guys have anything in the chat? You got any talking points you want us to touch on? Because,
Let's get it. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, I'm just sad. But I rather TNA or NWA vet. Well, one has Moose, so the chance of Moose is better than a guarantee of anything else.
I personally liked NWA TNA.
No, you didn't. Nobody did. But what was I gonna say? Well, we have a little taste of. Don't worry, we have a little taste of NWA here on this episode. So let's just get started. All right, so we have our normal ketchup, and as we see if we've got, what do we have this week?
Well, it's a mild sauce, but still
mild sauce. It is red and it is in a packet, and it'll get the job done. It's much, even if it's mild, it's still spicier than this recap.
Dude, have you ever had the spicy ketchup from Whataburger?
No.
Dude, it's something else.
Too good. We don't have Whataburgers here, sadly.
Damn, I thought you might have seen one in your travels.
Nah, I never made it to one. But it's on my list. I will one day. Nah, I won't do it. I probably won't do it.
You'll probably catch one of the expansions coming out in the Midwest because they got bought out by this one like franchise company or this one company that owns a bunch of other food companies.
I think the westward expansion wall is like Las Vegas. Like that's as close as some stuff ever gets to me. And then that's where they hit the wall trying to get into California. I think California's business regulations keeps a lot of people out. So
yeah, to be fair, I wouldn't want to do business there either.
So anyway, speaking of doing business,
but I think with Whataburger there'll be more of an eastward or Midwest or like east north or northeast expansion.
Well, good luck to them. And good luck to Who are these guys? Oh yeah, Matt Hardy and Ryan Nemeth, because they're going up against the System version, uh, Major Brother and Fat Eddie. Um, before I get to the main point, any thoughts on the match itself?
I mean, it was what it was. Other than I thought it went a little bit long to kind of get its business across, which I can probably say for a lot of things on this show.
True. What about so the business being that Dolph Ziggler's little brother pins Brian Myers with a top rope crossbody like he was Ricky Steamboat in 1987. Uh, so you know Myers takes a lot of these falls. I guess. I guess he's just the designated fall guy for a lot of things, and that makes sense. I would beat him too every chance I got. Maybe not this time though. Maybe I wouldn't beat them because um, immediately now this part's fine. Moose shows up. Okay, I'm fine with that. And then he gets the heat back for the System by kicking the shit out of both of these guys that his tag team couldn't do. Like these are the tag team champions.
Yeah.
And they couldn't put together this slapdash team of one old broken down crazy person and one other guy's less talented younger brother. Matter of fact, was it not I'm trying to think. No, I'm wrong. Anyway, so Moose comes in and then they attempt to Pillmanize Ryan, and they got the chair on his neck and they're about to do the home run swing to it. And then they hit his brother's music, and good old Nikki comes down and makes the save, and runs off the entire System by himself, just him. So awesome. Okay, thoughts on the post match?
I honestly don't know. I mean, it just really seems kind of paint by numbers at this point.
Oh yeah, well they're painting it. Trust me. We'll get to more of this. I'll just, in my a la carte mindset, I saw Moose. There was a Moose sighting. I tried to enjoy that as much as I could. Yes. It's like when you see a moose in the wild, you appreciate the majesty. You don't worry about what the moose is actually doing. Like if the moose is foraging or whatever, or if he's taking a dump. You don't really think about all that stuff. You just, okay, I saw it. That's a memory. Move on.
If I see a moose, I'm getting my Hitmonchan out and beating it up until I can capture it.
All right. Let's do that. Before we move on, I'll just suggest perhaps if you use Thunder Punch, then the moose will be paralyzed and then it'll be easier to capture. So just a little something. ABC with Gia and no music underneath. Gia's stirring it up. They call her out on stirring it up. But Ace thinks that perhaps it is the answer, that they should just go one-on-one and work things out because that's what teams do. It happens all the time. Usually it takes an accidental bump off the apron to do that, but I guess they've had that. So I guess now it's time for the match, but we don't hate each other just yet. We're not mortal enemies just yet. We just gonna work out some stuff. Kind of like we're gonna see in the main event tonight. So we got a couple of similar angles going on here. Babyface tag teams facing each other. Okay. So there we go. Not repetitive, not redundant.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff they need to kind of tighten up on their creative. You can't have the same story going on the same show, or two of the same story. Or I'm sorry, I should say more than one, because we've seen what in some cases 3 or 4 of the same story.
That's right. Well, there's only so many stories. I mean, it's wrestling. But yeah, for henceforth, creative, whenever is said by one of us, is in quotation marks.
right? When it comes to storytelling, like there's like simple, basic, foundational ways you start a story and build a story, but how you build off of that foundation, they're all unique and you make them different.
Yeah, well, like this next thing where Santino thinks.
How again, but if you're trying to put together a wrestling show where it's like a menu of different things, you can't have the same story on the same show. You got to have variety.
Well, that's not what the past 30 years of television has taught me. Now, anyway, Santino thinks that the ex WWE guys and their brother deserve title shots. So Matt Hardy's going to get a title shot at Moose based on nothing, and the Nemeth boys are going to get tag team championship match because, you know, we got to give Dolph some belt, and it's not going to be the main one, so let's go for this one.
How hard is it to do all right, next week, 6-man tag. If Hardy and the Nemeth win, they get their title shots.
It's way too hard to do that. You can't do that. You kidding me? Well, you ought to be fired from writing Punching Up Impact for suggesting that. How dare you? That's too difficult. Man. Why don't you just have a guy come out with a flamethrower while you're at it? All right. But here's what we really get. Yeah, here's what we really get. We get the Rascals versus some guys. Sinner and Saint is the graphic they got. I guess they had individual names. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry. This match was too competitive. That part was what I was paying attention to. I'm like, why are the Rascals giving these guys anything? I don't. Did they get signed? Did TNA sign these guys?
I mean, this is something I've heard Ben say before, where it's like, they could see, they could be boys with them, or they could see like a little bit of them in those guys. Okay, let's give them a little bit of extra shine to help get them over. When it's like, you both need to realize your position in this match. One team makes the other team look good and puts them over. The other team looks good going over.
Yeah. Well, even if that's what you were going to do, like if these guys are boys and they wanted to give them a little shine, even if that's what they wanted, this isn't how you do it. You wouldn't do it this way. You would, because it was the Rascals, it would have to be them like obviously taking the team lightly. Like, oh my God, who are these assholes? They ain't beating us. We're not even going to try. And then the guys get a shine because the Rascals aren't trying. And then Rascals finally like sober up and put a stop to it and end the match. But they didn't do that. They just had a regular match. They didn't tell any of that story. They didn't do anything but just have a match where these guys just look like they pushed the Rascals around for a little while. So it's like, well, shit. Santino better come out with contracts now. I mean, if these guys are competitive with the Rascals, surely they might get the upper hand one day. So sign them. This is what I'm saying. It's like, I know I come off as a real asshole sometimes, but you know what? When they're doing it like this, like even at the lowest of levels on one of the lower level shows, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, that story you laid out would have been way better.
Yeah, that's the way you do it. If you got friends that you're trying to like, hey, look, we got you the spot and we'll give you a little shine and then we'll rough you up. Like, that's how you would do it. You don't just go into having a match. Right, that's the thing. You're a character. You're a character. The Rascals are supposed to be characters. What's the difference between the Rascals? They're called the Rascals. They're making Little Rascals references. They're spray painting people. Like, they're just general douchebag youth troublemaker types.
Yeah, and their entrance music opens up with a bong hit.
A bong hit. Yeah, they could be impaired at the start of the match, and these guys just take advantage of their slow reflexes.
Yeah,
well, whatever.
Yeah, dude, how hard is it to have them be like, okay, we're wrestling 2-0, but if you got an off night, let's have a little extra fun. You see them kind of like, yeah, around the ring, and then they take advantage of it. And it's like, oh shit, we got to get our heads in the game.
Right. Well, as Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2 might say, I ain't finished. Because that's not the only thing wrong with this. So Burt Macklin comes out because these guys ain't shit. The Sinner and Saint, obviously they're not shit, right? Well, they're shit enough to get some shit in during the match, but after the Rascals do win, it takes one guy to come out and beat up the Rascals now. So we have our second in a row post-match attack. Now it's by one guy on two guys. So we're repeating the exact same angles that we've already seen. Every match is going to end in somebody running in, I guess. Anyway, Bert goes back through the curtain and Gia catches him and says, hey, Bert, what are you doing? And he's like, hey, I told you I'm not done with these guys and I'm not done with Santana. And Santana's like, oh, you're not done with me? Well, why don't we have a match next week? And he's like, all right. And that's it. It's riveting.
Right. And to keep it different, instead of him jumping them after the match, you could do a thing where they come back through the curtain. Gia tries to say, hey, how do you feel about your victory tonight? They say a few words, and then Macklin jumps him with a chair.
Yeah. I mean, if we have to.
If we have to, yeah.
If we absolutely just must. But how's this for different? King Self-Bet. Okay, we come back from the commercial, and he is berating Mrs. Weapon. And then he announces that he's leaving the building. So that's different. Like, I can't say we've ever seen that. And he, on his way out, he passes Cody Deaner, who's coming out. And he calls out Jake something, and he says that he deserved his clothesline last week, and he wants to shake hands, but it's not about what he wants. Do the people want Jake something to shake his hand? And Jake something does the comical wrestling oversell of like, I don't know, should I shake his hand? Like, didn't you just clothesline the shit out of him last week? And wasn't that your heel turn? I guess not. I guess he was just frustrated. So now he's just, I don't know, guys, should I do it? Like, whatever. And then, speaking of hands, did somebody say hands? Because a certain couple of guys show up. And then, they do their little promo thing. And then Santino comes out. Yeah, yes. The worker handshake, yep. And then Santino comes out and he puts these son of my guns in a Kentucky Fight Club match. Because they're in Newport, Kentucky. I guess there are a lot of fight clubs there. I don't know. Maybe that's an inside thing. I'm not sure. So we're treated to the Deaners versus the Hands now. And this match is just nothing but Jake something's conflicted bullshit that he's trying to pantomime, and then they do a little teamwork at the end where he tosses him into the black hole slam and they get a win as the Deaners. Yay. So
give her.
Yeah. I mean, any notes? Any thoughts?
No, I thought it was kind of, if anything, kind of furthered the Deaner Jake something story. That's really all it did. But again, you could accomplish that in a lot less time.
Could you have accomplished it without Jake something's comical overacting?
Yes.
Well, they disagree. All right. Jordan Grace with Gia, no music underneath. Nothing can stop the Juggernaut. That was never one of Juggernaut's catchphrases, was it? No, I don't think so. It's nothing can move the Blob. And I don't know if Juggernaut had a catchphrase. Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut was like Stan Lee's catchphrase to hype up Juggernaut, I guess. Like he would write that on the cover of the magazine or whatever. Like, nothing can stop the Juggernaut. Yeah.
Right, like that's what he put as a tagline for like his intro comic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, the system has a boiler room meeting with, well, I wouldn't say music underneath. Yeah, that's non-canon. That's a non-canon catchphrase. So there, it's not music. It's more like ominous tones. Let's put it that way. They have a meeting with ominous tones in the boiler room. For all you Forgetting Sarah Marshall fans. And then Joe Hendry steps in. And yep, no one even said his name, I don't think. He just came in. And then Fat Eddie steps up to him and is like, I'll take care of this bum. And then they all leave. I don't know about you, but when I watched this, every time it had everybody in the shot, there was like some sort of an issue with the camera. And then when they switched to a close-up, it was steady, but it was like there was like film judder when everybody was in the shot. Did you notice that?
Or a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they're struggling to get everybody in it.
Yeah, well, it was a technical error. I don't know why, but anytime they switched to a close-up, it went away. So something was wrong with that guy's camera that had that. That's just a minor thing, but I noticed it. Speaking of minor, the concierge gives an update about Ash's emergency minor dental surgery. So they're gonna have a gorgeous stand-in for Ash tonight, and they bring out a mannequin with a wig and a dress and like a printed out picture of Ash's face taped to it.
I'll give them credit. They're at least trying to be creative with what they have to work with. And by they, I mean Ash, concierge, whoever else they're working with.
Yes. And here's your taste of NWA because Marty Bell is here. And she's taking on Jordan Grace. Marty Bell wasn't called Marty Bell when she used to be in TNA in the Dollhouse. She was called... Anybody remember?
Pulling up Wikipedia right now.
Mia Yim was Jade.
Yeah, that I remember.
And Marty was... Don't remember. But this is the chat's chance to shine. If they can beat the Wikipedia. But
no, it was Marty Bell. Or just Bell.
Just Bell?
Yep. Bell and Jade.
That sounds wrong for some reason. Well, anyway, it's not important because neither is she, because she's just going to lose. But don't worry, for the third time, we're going to get our heat back because guess who shows up? It's Allison Kay, her tag team partner in the Hex. Oh my God, Allison Kay beats up Jordan Grace and they beat up Jordan Grace. The Hex is here. The
Hex in the
NWA.
house, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, everybody's favorite. Okay. Okay. Allison Kay.
Okay.
Also Sienna. That's what she was called when she was in TNA before. So yeah. Are you excited to see the Hex?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Kushida's sick on Explosion. He coughed up a bunch of stuff after his match. And then they do a cinematic scene afterwards. Because everything with Jonathan Gresham henceforth will be a movie. It'll be a short film. We're getting a call. Like Santino's calling Jonathan Gresham to let him know that from now on, because everybody's getting sick. Refs in his matches are going to wear masks and gloves, and that's it. And he's got a match with Sami Callihan next week. That'll be the debut of refs wearing masks and gloves for Jonathan Gresham matches. Don't worry about the audience that has to watch the match, not only for what they're about to see because Sami Callihan's going out there, but also because they might get infected with Octopus Inc. too.
Or before every one of his matches, you have people who work for TNA start passing on masks to everybody in the first row.
That'd be good. It'd be like the splash zone at SeaWorld or something.
Or like when you're going to a Sam Kinison show.
Right.
Not Sam Kinison, no, sorry. Gallagher. Yeah.
Yeah. First 6 rows may get inked. I mean, in fairness, I would say it's only transmitted through, him jamming it down their mouth with his hand, but I mean, the ref, that doesn't explain the ref getting it. He didn't jam it in the ref's mouth.
Maybe it's coming into contact with him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like actual physical contact.
Yeah, maybe. Sure. This is totally real. Speaking of real, this is the extra cinematic. Do you like this director's touch where after Santino calls, he hangs up on the voicemail to Jonathan Gresham, and then there's a camera on a phone on the table like this, and then it shows a new notification pops up, and then a hand reaches for the phone. Did you like that? Did you like that cinematic touch? Did you like the auteurs, directors?
I'll give it to him. It's different. They're trying to stand out. They're putting effort in. I can't knock that.
Oh, I'll tell you, they're putting effort in. They got a camera on Santino and an extra camera just to shoot Jonathan Gresham's phone. You know how long he was shooting that phone, hoping that something would happen? They just had a cameraman there at his house or wherever he was staying, just shooting the phone. Don't even shoot the guy, Jonathan Gresham, that's clearly, 1 inch to the left. If you would just pan over, you would see him, the guy, reaching for the phone. No, just keep it right there on the phone. Just that, with the 24 frames per second, So Jody Threat is next, and she's got Danny Luna with her and Lars with her. He's still there. Talk about effort. Versus Tasha Steelz. But it doesn't matter if it's 3-on-1. Steelz cutter or whatever her move is called for the win. Tasha Steelz is back, baby. She wants to be great.
I thought her finish was that kind of she gets goes like a crucifix pin, but then it turns it into a crucifix bomb.
That's old shit. Steel cutter. What do you want me to say? I thought that was her finish too, but I mean, I guess she didn't. Either you're telling me she didn't even need her finish to beat one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, former Knockouts Tag Team Champions.
I mean, my only issue with her using a cutter is you already got one guy in the company who uses a cutter as a finish, Chris Bay, and then Ace Swan or Rich Swann uses it as a falsie.
Well, we have no problem with TNA doing 3 of the same thing. Certainly not on one show, even. So, I think it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. You know what else happened 3 times? PCO yelled out, "Steph!" 3 times. Let's talk about just good storytelling, And he held the rose.
This feels like a straight rip off of Beauty and the Beast.
You don't say. Well, if anyone else calls Steph Delander Beast, I'll rip their lungs out. What movie, guys? Come on, Liz. Come on, Liz. Um, so 7 ball walks. They're gonna have their big match. Um, First class is here. They're in the lights, purple and green. That's another hint for the quote, the movie quote. Um, and the lights are actually so bright that Rich Swann needs sunblock on his nose. Well, it's just because they're getting ready for summer. It's not because of the RGB, but it's, you know. But these guys are here that they've brought first class in just for the express purpose of introducing our standard next week on Impact package that they like to run around this time on the show. So first class is doing big things. Doing the old intro for next week.
Big things. First class. If you ain't first class, you last.
That's right.
Because if you ain't first class, you ain't going to be running down next week's show.
That's right.
Yeah, bad use of them this week. Bad use of them this week.
They didn't even run down the show. They just pitched to the pre-made video. First class and a bag of money, Gamwolfer says. Yep, damn right. They have to carry their money around in little sacks with dollar signs on it. They have so much.
Here's how they make that make sense. Next week, they'd be like, we're so first class, we got paid top dollar just to throw it to a video package.
That's right. You guys were just doing that just for free before.
You guys actually had to get in the ring and wrestle to get paid. We just had to introduce a video package.
Yep. So I would say. So. Okay, it's time for our main event. It's 7 versus Ball. Okay. Now I said, you know what? I'm gonna pay attention to this. I'm actually gonna pay attention to this. I'm gonna try to give a somewhat of a detailed breakdown. Because I felt like I've been cheating the people lately. I mean, yeah, I watch these shows, but it's like, eh. All right, did I get lost there for a second?
No, you broke up a little bit.
Okay. All right, maybe just like hold up some signal or something to let me know if that happens. That way I could stop wasting time talking. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And just don't ever do that for anything else. That way I'll know. But what I was saying was, a lot of times I sit here and watch these shows and I'm just like, meh. But I watch them, but I'm just like, meh. And I'm like, what can I say about this? This is meh. You guys have watched it. You don't need me to tell you what happened. If you didn't watch it, you probably don't care for me to tell you what happened. So that's why I usually like brush past a lot of stuff. But for this, I was like, you know what? I'm in a mood. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to watch this match and I'm going to take notes on it. I'm going to give you guys a little detailed breakdown. So here we go. First off, you have to know this going in. Now Mike Bailey doesn't have this problem because of his mullet, but Trent Seven is a habitual hairbrusher and he's also a tight fixer. Which makes sense because he has a shitty body. So he's always pulling his trunks up over his fat stomach anytime that he gets a chance. But sometimes he puts his hair up so he doesn't have this issue. This time he had his hair down. So we did have that issue. So that's something to notice going in. I noticed this right off the bat pretty much. At first it started... I like the way it started. It started fine. You have to keep in mind that the psychology for this, you have tag team partners facing each other for a shot at the X Division title. Babyface tag team partners. So there's a certain psychology that goes along with that, right? So keep that in mind as we go. Now, the first mistake that I saw Mike Bailey do is a small thing, but to me, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It actually sticks out like a whole hand. And what am I talking about? You know when you go to the ropes and you sell on the ropes and then the guy comes over, he's going to shoot you off? Well, Mike Bailey offered his hand to, he reached out. I've seen more blatant ones than this, but he definitely reached out like, take my hand. You don't do that. Just keep your hand down. They'll get it. They'll grab it. They know what they're doing. You don't have to offer them a handshake.
And if you're the guy whipping the person off and they give you their hand, kick them in the stomach, then take their hand.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could do that. So speaking of kicks, there was a spot where Trent is on the apron and Mike goes to kick him through the ropes, and Trent grabs his foot. It's through like it's through over the second rope. It's not like over the top. It's like through the second rope. Trent grabs his foot and like lightly pushes it, and Mike Bailey goes flying backwards and takes a rolling bump, which is like, physically that's impossible to do. You couldn't do that to anybody who didn't want to take a roll. So it's a little bit of an oversell on that, but something I noticed. Speaking of selling, Bailey came off with a lovely top rope missile drop kick on Trent Seven, and Trent sold the drop kick. He laid there like he had been drop kicked off the top rope, and Mike Bailey just didn't do anything. He just fired up, I guess. No cover. Now, I know that sometimes, well, all the time, Al Snow says, you're trying to win the match, go for a cover. And sometimes I'm like, shut up, Al. You don't always have to go for the cover. Sometimes it's important not to go for the cover. You don't want too many covers. But in a match where, again, as I pointed out, the psychology is you're friends and you're forced to fight for whatever reason, you want to end the match as quickly as possible because you got to team up with this person in the future. You're not trying to cripple them. You just want the match to be over. So there should have been a lot more trying to win in a match like this. This is where the trying to win psychology makes the most sense, and you should use it the most in a situation where two baby faces are fighting for someone on the line, but they're not, but they're a team. You don't often get that in wrestling in general.
Right. If you're wrestling your teammate and your friend, you don't want that to go as long. You want that to go as short as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole beginning of it should just be, technical wrestling pin attempt stuff, especially if you hit a missile drop kick. Just do it. Just cover him, just go for the quick cover. Like, oh shit, he's down, especially if he's selling it like that. Some guys just take a missile drop kick and then just get up and wait for the next spot. He actually sold it. So, that's Mike Bailey. That's on Mike. He should have known.
Yeah. And if you hit the missile drop kick and you've taken a beating in the match, you do the slow crawl, drape the arm, 1-2 kick.
Yeah. But he hasn't even taken a beating yet. So there you go. So anyway, Trent chops him in the back and Mike Bailey takes offense to it and he apologizes and he like, or no. I'm sorry. I wrote that wrong. Trent gets chopped in the back and Mike Bailey apologizes. And he's like, here, you go ahead, chop me in the back. I'm just looking at this whole thing. It leads to a willful trade of back chops. Like, I was like, what am I looking at here? What is this, dude? Like, what are you guys doing? A chop in the back is not something that's like debilitating. It's like a disrespect thing. So it's if you disrespect the guy by chopping him in the back, and then you just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Here, you go ahead and disrespect me." Like, that's not how it works. It's not like that. It's not a we're even type thing. But whatever. That's them and their psychology. Now, what's good for the goose is good for the gander because Trent Seven hits a standing O on Mike Bailey. And doesn't go for the cover, but he does go for a Phoenix splash and misses, which then leads to Bailey going for something and missing too. So a moonsault probably, and so now they both missed a top rope move. So that's fine if you want to do that spot, but I think it still would have been better after the standing O because it looked so good. And this time Bailey sold the standing O, that I would have just tried to win with that. And then if he kicks out, just pick him up and drop him down in front of the rope or something, to do your spot. Then Ali comes out with his Secret Service, including like what looks like possibly a child. Like, yeah, did he have a child out there with him? Or it was either a child or it was one of the sinner or saint guys. I couldn't like he suited up and came back out. I wasn't sure. I wasn't possible. This was martial arts. Bailey likes to do those like choreographed martial arts spots in the match. But this one I thought was slow enough that it looked like they were reacting and not just like memorizing their sequence and going right into it. Like when he goes for like a leg sweep, it looked like Trent had enough time to look at him, know what he was doing, and jump over it rather than like, I'm just going to the jump right now because I know that's the spot.
Right.
It
was like
reacted to the kick.
Right. Like a natural reaction instead of following a script.
Right. Also, if you do too much stuff in a wrestling match too fast, you get ahead of the fans and they can't visually process it. So doing something like this, I thought they actually did it really well this time. There was another one later that wasn't as good, but the first one they did was good. And then they're fighting outside, and then an accidental kick to Ali knocks him down, and then it leads to a chop exchange outside where they just hit each other with chops while paying attention to the referee without looking like they're trying to pay attention to the referee who's doing the count. And then they do the slide in at 9 thing, but I don't know if that was really necessary, especially because they didn't make it look that believable. They just made it look like I could see the spot coming like a mile away. So it's like, okay, these chops are very half-hearted. It doesn't look like you're caught up in it. It looks like you're just waiting for the ref to keep counting. Now remember that psychology again. Because when you do the Birminghammer on the apron to your partner, you're trying to cripple him, and it's not very nice. And apparently you're not beating him with it anyway, so maybe don't kill it. I mean, I could jump to the finish now, but we're almost there. So let's see Ali. I wrote because this Ali was down after that one kick for like minutes, and I was just like, let's see Ali sell anything this long in an actual match. Let's just see that. But eventually he jumps up because now he's mad that he got kicked after like 5 minutes or whatever, and then he jumps up on the apron, he distracts everybody, the referee mainly, and then Mike Bailey climbs up. He's about to hit the ultimate weapon, and then out of nowhere, Champagne Singh comes out. And he crotches Mike Bailey. Oh my God. Where's Champagne? That's Champagne Singh. What's he doing here? Well, he's clearly dressed like one of Ali's people. Yes, Victor, that is a Shirohige Jolly Roger. Very good eye. So anyway, he crotches Mike Bailey, and then Trent wins with the Birminghammer in the middle of the ring as opposed to the apron. So Trent didn't know that Champagne Singh interfered. We don't know why Champagne Singh interfered, even though he's dressed like Secret Service. And your new number 1 contender, Trent Seven. Congratulations, Trent Seven. So there you go. Hey, at least nobody came out and attacked somebody after. They attacked him in the middle of the match, so it was different. So there you go. So what do you think?
I thought it was a decent match, but again, for TV purposes, like you could have accomplished what you needed to accomplish in that in less than half the time. All right, so yeah, I mean, that's always been an issue with. I've always felt with Impact is like a lot of their matches. It just feels like they stretch them out and drag them out to fill time, whereas like you could accomplish the business you're trying to accomplish, tell the story you're trying to tell, develop the characters you're trying to develop in less time than you're spending on the matches. Like, and then you can use that time to build your show, make your show more entertaining, get people on the show who aren't on the show. But again, that's just me.
Yeah, that's just you. I think they're doing everything perfectly. TNA is on a roll. Just call them hot butter. Well, I mean that was your Impact, May 23rd,
Whoop,
and
whoop.
damn, it sure would have been nice if we would have had Under Siege maybe like last weekend, or something. Because we're not getting another major show until like what, the 14th of June or something like that. Not that I want another major show, but
You
what I'm
could you
saying is that's showing you how badly they are at spacing.
could,
Yeah. I don't get it. So we're just going to get a lot of more like TV episodes where it's like, oh. So that's something to look forward to. And unfortunately, we don't have a punching up for this particular week. Perhaps we'll have a double next week, right?
yes, next week will be a double dosage.
Yeah. And
One of the rare weeks we'll actually have one build to the next.
wow. Wow. All right.
Wow.
I guess that kind of does it. I mean, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
I wish I had Darby Allin's flamethrower.
Yeah. What would you do with that? A Memorial Day barbecue, perhaps? Just take it out to the grill, turn it on the meat, and then instant burgers?
Light fireworks on the 4th of July.
Well, we got a ways for that. We got a ways to go for that still. So you have time to get your flamethrower, light your fireworks, light the fuse, as it were. Yeah, but that's a different show. This has been the Impact Attack. It's been an interesting Impact Attack. Hopefully, you guys found it interesting enough. And hopefully, you will join us next week for another one. And if you want to join us anywhere else before that, Brandon, give the people some locations.
As always, you can find me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X at Transarchustia. Still working on how I kind of want to rebuild, rebrand, just redo everything on Twitch. But as it's currently at right now, twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchist. And I'm also on Substack at HMG Brandon. I'm also doing watch alongs on the HMG YouTube channel of various wrestling shows. The schedule for this week is we're going to be doing AEW on Wednesday, TNA Impact on Thursday, and then Friday Night SmackDown on Friday. That is, of course, unless Ben's able to make it out of work, of course, which I will hand the chair over to him.
All right. So, wrestling shows live as they happen. Well, as for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms. And yeet, a special yeet to Lab right there. And a yeet to Gan Wolfers and a yeet to all of you. I will see you on I will see you on Wednesday for the Next Level Wrestling review with Big Ray Hernandez. And that's every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. NXT review. We'll see you on Sunday for The Wreckage with Jimmy T. And that is also 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And I will see you. Well, I'll see you there. I'll probably see you at Wrestling with Rogers. I'll be in the chat at least. And that's every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Ask Rip a question and get your answer, whatever that may be. You can. You won't see me on Stevie Richards' 25 channels, but you can see a lot of great content there as he prepares to roll out so much stuff. He's literally breaking his back for you guys. Like literally, he was doing deadlifts and he broke his back again. This is all your fault, you know.
It's infected again. Damn it.
Yeah, you guys look what you've done to Stevie. He's trying to do all these things and all this stuff and everything and whatnot and what have you, and now he's hurt himself. So I hope you're happy. But you know, if you feel guilty about what you've done, that you could go support him. Perhaps his Patreon be to your liking, where he will give you a pro wrestling education. I'll give it to you here for free, but he's got a lot of tools and tips and other things that can take you even further inside the mind of wrestling and wrestlers. So, you know, you may want to give that a try. It's the least you could do after you crippled him. So consider giving that a shot. Listen to his Big Fitness show with Big Mike Barons. It's free to listen to on YouTube. They could use your help there. So much stuff from Stevie Richards, so much stuff from HMG, so much stuff from the brand, so much stuff from all of us, and so much stuff from all of you. And we thank you and we say goodbye to you. And for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.